Hello and welcome to lesson 3 of social problems. This week, you guys are going to cover 3 chapters, which at first might seem a little bit extensive, but again, we're really starting to look at some of the institutions of society and then some of the social problems as a result. Okay, so the first chapter you guys are going to read is on alcohol and drugs and how our policies toward drugs. And so, again, when it comes to drug use, drug addiction, we need to be taking a biopsychosocial approach to that. How much of your drug use is associated with your genetics? Because there is a genetic association. How much of it's influenced by your cognitions and your thoughts, your emotions, your personality? And then how much of it's influenced by the social context, like poverty, for example? Does drug use and crime increase in poverty? Absolutely. So, whenever we're thinking about our policies toward this, we need to be taking a biopsychosocial approach to addiction to really understand addiction and then how to actually treat that. Then there's the cultural perspective of what's deviant and us labeling things as deviant. So you have to be looking at labeling theory, what happens when things violate the social norms like drug use, what should be the consequences for that, what kind of policies should we have in place. We have a very formalized bureaucracy in the form of our government that passes laws. So they are passing the policies and the rules to handle the social programs. And so you guys are going to watch a great video that kind of discusses different ways to approach a social problem defined as drug use, drug addiction, and then drug delivery and drug sale. Okay? So again, you need to take a cultural perspective to that. Which drugs should be illegal? Which drugs should be legal? Should ibuprofen be legal? Should you be able to go buy ibuprofen from a drugstore, but people abuse ibuprofen and maybe that could harm their liver? Should ibuprofen be something that we should have to get from a doctor? So on and so forth. Okay, we got to ask, does it cause social harm? Despite, our desire to ensure people have freedom in their lives, is drug use something that we're willing to give up some freedoms for so that the government can impose laws against that? So, again, you need to be thinking about just all these different ideas, when it comes to drug use and drug policy, things like that. You guys are also going to look at the education system. Again, you have to look at the education system kind of through the eyes of the theories. So functionalism, what's the purpose of the education system? Well, it socializes people, it trains people, it certifies people to fulfill specific social roles. But what about from a conflict perspective? Well, only 35% of people graduate college. Does that mean our education system is failing, or is it succeeding in filtering people into white collar and blue collar jobs? So is the purpose of the education system to socialize and to prepare and to weed people out according to merit? Or does the education system essentially just filter people into white collar, blue collar, upper class, and lower class? Therefore, those who get access to the good education get access to the elite social positions. Those that don't get access to the good education system don't get access to the elite social positions. And a symbolic interactionist perspective of education might be something like, we're the ones who constructed it in the first place. Guys, does the education system exist to support social class maintaining their status, or does it exist for us to teach? We need to make some decisions about what the purpose of the education system is. And then if you don't like the education system or it's not working, it's not functioning, change it, update it. Symbolic interactionism would say, guys, we're the ones who built it. It's us working together that built this system. If it's not working, let's do something else. And you've seen that. We have all kinds of alternative forms to education. So, again, the formal state sponsored education system is not the end all be all. That's just one way of constructing an education system through symbolic interaction. Okay? Then you guys are also going to be looking at health and healthcare. So, when you look at health and illness, again, you have all these diverse cultural perspectives of health and illness. Okay? Um, and you look again at ancient times through all of human history and all the different cultures and all the different religions and all the different health and illness attitudes that we've have. What are people's rituals and artifacts and traditions for life and death, birth and death? What do we do when someone's born? What do we do when someone's die? What's our attitude toward health? Is it balance and illness is imbalance? Okay, then we're going to be looking at access to health. Who has access to health? Well, which countries have a bureaucratized healthcare system? Okay, not every country has a bureaucratized healthcare system. And so some countries have higher infant mortality rates, for example, than the United States because their healthcare system isn't as advanced as ours, for example. So you're going to be looking at access globally, then like within the United States, which people in the United States have access to healthcare, which people have access to insurance, those that have higher socioeconomic status, those that have jobs that offer insurance. So, are you more likely or less likely to have insurance if you're in poverty compared to somebody who's in the higher echelon of the social classes? And then how did the healthcare system evolve over time? So again, 100 years ago, there was not a formal bureaucratized healthcare system like we have in modern times. This took time. It took society to evolve from, again, hunter-gatherers to agrarian to industrial times to the technological advances, especially in medicine with the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. So many advances just in the last half century. Then you got to look at if the healthcare system has evolved to become formal with rules and regulation and oversight, okay? And certification processes. Then you have to look at the healthcare training, okay? Then all the colleges have gotten involved. Then you have to look at the culture of healthcare. So again, when you look at health and healthcare, there's just so much cool stuff to look at. So all the stuff you're being introduced to, again, this is an introduction to social problems, okay? These are all areas that we could spend entire lives working on. We could devote our entire lives to, helping with drug addiction, reducing the sale of drugs, managing that. Spend our whole life talking about education, ways to improve the system, ways to reduce inequality between people because of education. The healthcare is just obviously a booming business that's just evolving over time. We can follow that social change. So all of these are huge areas of study. And you guys are just getting a quick introduction to it. So, this week, make sure you guys look over your lesson overview for public problems. This tells what you need to do. Chapter 7 on drugs, 11, I believe, is education. I think 13 is healthcare. And then, guys, watch the video on healthcare. This is a great video on Portugal's drug crisis that eventually brings it back to the United States. Then, you guys are going to do discussion question 4 and application exercise 2. So let's just look at those really fast. Your discussion this week, again, is an awesome chance to do some creative writing, so please take advantage of this. Of course, use your book as a reference, but you've learned a lot about labor, economy, education, and healthcare, and all these institutions, okay? So think about what you've learned and what ways might capitalism be better than socialism, and then back and forth, okay? But think about the healthcare, okay? In America, we don't have socialized healthcare. So the cost of healthcare is based upon the individual paying for it. It's not paid for by the system. So again, that's just a facet of capitalism, because it's kind of, it's all about survival of the fittest and, one person consolidating capital while the rest, are subjugated to those in dominant social positions. So guys, look at the difference of capitalism and socialism and then compare that to these institutions that we've talked about. Then for your application exercise 2, okay, you're going to look at a theory and then you're going to apply it to something that you're interested in this class. Okay, I just talked about applying the theories to healthcare. My big thing is like race, sex, social class, so let's apply the theories to race. Again, functionalist theory, what's the purpose of race? To divide society into working class and upper class. Who does it benefit? European descendants in the United States. How does race create conflict? Well, groups are competing with groups for precious resources. Therefore, people that weren't historically white were not given access to rise up the social class ladder. Therefore, all minorities were subjugated into the lower classes until at least around civil rights. And prejudice and discrimination still exist to keep people down. And then symbolic interaction theory. Again, we're the ones who came up with the institution of race. Race, there's no biological basis. Nobody's actually black or white. White's not even a race. White's an ethnicity. Okay, the Supreme Court is very clear about white is not a race. Aryans are from Persia. So whenever you hear one of those neo-Nazi people or Hitler talking about, whatever they talk about with their Aryan race stuff, I always kind of laugh because I'm like, guys, have they ever read a book? Because Aryans are from Iran. So whenever you hear about that, people from India are coded as Asian. So someone from China and someone from India are considered the same race. Do you guys agree with that? Even though Russia is right next to China, they're considered white. If you're from North Africa, you're considered white. If you're from the Middle East, you're considered white. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Again, you need to be challenging the system. We're the ones who came up with race. We created race so that Europeans could dominate society and divide society into those who could have and those who could not. So again, women and all the other minorities based upon race and ethnicity were subjugated into the lower classes. So again, pick a theory, okay, and apply it. Now take another theory that you didn't just apply and then apply it to the war on drugs, okay? What's the purpose? How does it cause conflict? We're the ones who construct the policy. Is there a better way to approach it? Okay, so this is stuff you should be thinking about this week. I'm super excited. I know it seems like a lot because it's 3 chapters, but you're looking at social institutions and the way they structure our lives. Yeah, it's pretty fascinating things. All right, so email with any questions and have a wonderful day.